Hi, folks. It's 6 o'clock. Time to play with some pictures here. I hope everybody's doing good. I know a lot of people are being impacted by these fires, especially over here in the Pacific Northwest. So I hope everybody's doing well. So that's my hope, anyhow, for everybody. Whoops. Let's see. All right, see here. Let's get moving here. I'm just trying to get myself figure out what in the world I'm doing here. Oh, there we go. All right, so then let me bring this one up into that screen, and I think we're ready to go. I think I'm ready to go. So let me see. We've got Rachel and Shauna and Tom, and I think Randy just showed up. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to start moving here. I got 7 people, so we got a good sized group for me just getting these things going. I just also wanted to tell you guys that over in Eastern Oregon, what part, if you don't mind me asking? I've got family in Central Oregon that's been really challenged by these fires. I hope you're doing well over there, wherever you live. Tell me what your first name is, too. I appreciate it. So, over in Baker. Yeah, I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to pull off the dead ox this year. So I usually do a photographer's camp out and get together over in Keating, east of Baker, every year. So it's out at the Dead Ox Ranch. So I'm not sure if you know where the Dead Ox Ranch is, but so yeah, what I wanted to say was that I want you guys to know that this is just how I do it. I don't know if it's right, the proper way, or if there's a better way. So when you guys show up here for me to do this stuff, I'm just showing you how I know how to do it, and hope you guys know that. So I'm not some guy that goes on and tells you that I know everything. So I've got my ale of ginger. I'm ready to go. I had a couple people reach out and ask me how to set it up so that when you import your photos into Lightroom, you can have some of the preference or the adjustments, such as the lens corrections over here on the right. You look over here. I always have chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections clicked. And like I've said before, I'll turn profile corrections on and off and see which one I like. In this particular case, hello, Robert. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. So chromatic aberration I have on all the darn time. So, because you can get fringing, at the edges of something that's hard against a brighter sky. But like I've said before on here, the barrel distortion and vignette correction on the profile corrections for your lens doesn't show up down here. You can always click over here and find your lens usually. So, but in this particular case, I don't like it because it's more of a fisheye, and it's bringing the scene closer in the center, and I don't really care for that. I like it this way. So Okay, so the first thing I always do is make sure that I have this done. After that, I come up here into the basic module. I come over here, and if Adobe Neutral isn't clicked, see that's Adobe Landscape. You can see how much saturation it gives it just by clicking on the profile correction. So in this particular case, I want to flatten out my histogram up here, and I want to adjust and fine tune the contrast myself and not rely on a color profile or a different kind of profile to do it for me. So I always start here at Adobe Neutral. I mean, every now and then I'll come through here and see which ones that I might like. I mean, maybe some of them work with certain photos, but in this particular case, Adobe Neutral is where I'm going to start. So, okay. All right, so let's just get moving here. I have to sit and think about what I want to do. Right now, I don't think the saturation needs to be touched until the very end, because this is pretty saturated even in a neutral profile. So I'm going to come down here and look at my white balance. But right now, my white balance, I think, looks pretty good. Right now, my exposure is a little bit down. So what I'm looking at is over here on the right. I'm just pushing this histogram over here to the right, and we're going to have some dark stuff over here. So this is our hump on the left, and this is all of our midtones and our shadows and stuff over here. So I always want to protect my highlights, and that's going to be up here in these leaves primarily, because I want to make sure that nothing is overexposed and blown out up there. We've got a little bit of sky showing up here, and I don't know, I might dust that out later or something, but may leave it alone. So let's move our way down. I've done the white balance now, and I think that's fine. Our exposure, I lifted the exposure a little bit so that we're not so dark. And then the contrast I'll leave alone. My highlights, I've already been messing with this, so what I'm going to do is just come up here and look, and I'll pull some of my highlights down a little bit and try to protect the leaves up there a little. And then I'll look at a dark spot around in here, and I'll probably put some of the shadows up a little bit here, even though this photo had a lot of light coming through, and so there was a lot of reflecting light kind of illuminating the whole scene. But well, right over here is a good dark spot, so let's check this out over here. So you can see right now that it really starts getting really dark and I can't see into it. And so I like to be able to see into it. And so I pulled my shadows up. A lot of people go, don't drop your highlights down, shadows up, but that's just how I know how to do it. So now I can see the bark and I can see everything. And then we'll do a tone curve here in a minute, and then we'll do a little more adjustments. Okay, so the whites. Let me pull it in here again, because the highlights is what's going to, you can see how the whites blew those leaves out up there. So I'm maybe do just a little bit of some whites up there, but not much. So I'm concentrating right now on this background area, because that's the area that's going to be the hardest to balance your contrast with, because it's the brightest part of the photograph. So, hey, Scott. Gosh, I've got 11 people, man. This is awesome. I really appreciate it. Thank you for showing up, you guys. So if you haven't been following along, I've basically pulled this in to Lightroom. I've done my chromatic aberration and checked my profile correction. And oh yeah, I started to talk about this and I got distracted. So I have this Lightroom set. So these two are set when it imports. So I'm going to come over here and show this to you here. Let me see. I think it's in preferences. Yeah. Okay. And then is it presets? Yeah, presets. So you go down here and it says raw details. And I got this through going to the preference tab or window. So what you do is you pull down on here, come over here and go all the way down here to the bottom and go to optics. And you can choose CA correction, lens correction, or both. And I always just choose both. You know, I could just do CA and then come down and turn my profile on and off if I wanted to, but I just have it set so they both are checked when they come in. So it's good to see you here, Scott, my friend. So if you guys are curious what I'm doing, I'm over here checking the chat window here in case you guys have some questions for me. So we've got lens and CA correction check. Hit OK. And these won't take effect until you restart Lightroom, if I'm not mistaken. So we've gone through and we've done the color profile. We've pulled the highlights down a little bit. We've pulled our shadows up quite a bit. Don't usually do it that much, but I think that we're going to deal with everything else once we get down here to the tone curve. So I'm not going to touch the vibration or the saturation or any of these here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come to my tone curve and I'm going to move in on it so I can see what's going on. And I'll pull some highlights up, maybe pull the lights down a little, pull some darkness in there or not. What I'll do is I'll pull the darkness up a little and maybe do some shadow work here. The shadow slider is going to be more abrupt, you know. The dark is almost like it's more global, where the shadows, it pinpoints the darkest parts in the scene. And so there are times when I'll separate these. So let's see where we're at now. We're just about ready to do a little bit of dodging and burning to this scene. So let me look. This moss seems like it's a little washed out. So let me see. Come up here to the masks, and I'm going to do a radial gradient. Let me put it over and see what I'm going to do with this situation. I pulled the exposure down a little bit, but I think I want to bring the highlights up a little. Shadows down, highlights up. And we can click this off and on to see what we've done. Over here, there's a little eyeball over here to the right. You can click on it. Yeah, it doesn't look quite as washed out. I mean, it's a very, very minor adjustment, but that one area just bothered me, you know. And so using these masks up here is really awesome because you can zero in on different areas that need a little bit of individual attention. All right, so I'm going to do a vignette while we're in here because this photograph benefits from a vignette because we want the viewer to look in and out and through to the bridge and the highlights in the background. And so the vignette is going to pull the viewer's eyes in towards the background. So let me do a radial gradient. Let me pull it in from in here. And I think what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to invert this mask so that we're messing with the outside, okay? We'll pull this down a little bit. Okay, so now you see kind of why I pulled the shadows up, because through this whole situation, we're going to end up bringing the shadows in, but we're going to hopefully just pinpoint the dark spots and not make it really, really dark so you can't see like the fern inside of this corner down here. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to turn this off and on so we can see what we've done. All right. Now I want to make another one up here and up at the top up here. And this will deal with just this top area over here. Let me zoom in on this too. I hit my space bar and clicked on the photo to zoom in on it. Okay. So, and also to pan it. You can see it turns into a little hand there. So some of you guys probably already know all this stuff, but all right. So now we're going to mess with this area a little bit. I really want to, and then let me look backwards again, see what I've got going on here. So let me bring up exposure just a little bit. Okay. Then I want to go back to this mask and maybe pull this down a little bit. Pull this down and then pull the shadows up, because we're pulling some darkness into those shadows. And matter of fact, I may have been a little heavy-handed on it. So let's pull some of it back. So that's really what's really going to make the biggest difference in your photos, is looking at the finest things, because it's easy just to go through, adjust the exposure, do a little contrast, and bump the saturation up. But when you really want to start perfecting your processing, you're going to want to look further into the photograph and make a huge difference with the photo instead of just a more generic look. Okay. So one of the reasons why I like to do a vignette in Lightroom here is because I can always move it around and change it if I want to. So I want to move this up a little bit here. So let me think. So then we sit and think about it for a minute. I think I want to pull another mask down from the top. So I'm going to pull a linear gradient down. And what we're kind of doing is we're kind of counteracting the vignette we put in there. And to make this thing straight or level, hit your shift key and it'll straighten it up for you. Okay, so let's pull a little exposure up in here. Yeah, that's better. I'm really paranoid about blowing those highlights out, aren't I? So all right. There's something that I wanted to try while I got you guys here. Let's try this. We're in here, and I want to come down to dehaze. Because, I've got people that want to do this but don't want to deal with Photoshop. And so I'm just in the habit of making adjustments in here and then finishing it in Photoshop. And it's just because I've just been doing it that way for so long. But I think if you pull back on your dehaze slider here, it softens it up. Pull up on your clarity just a touch. Let me pull in here and see what we got going on. And this is kind of trying to come up with an effective way to replace the Orton effect that I've relied on for so darn long. So I want to do a little bit of haze up here and see if I can kind of recover some of the sharpness of it. And pull back here. Kind of does, doesn't it? Pull this around, and I do this too. Is I make my masks, and I'll pull them, move them around. What I'm doing here is I'm pulling it away from these trees over here, and pulling it over here up towards the sky. Okay, and let me turn this off and on so we can see what we've done. Okay, and then the other one is this one. Yeah, that one. Yeah, it kind of gives it a glow. Here, let me do an S curve in there. I kind of have a little bit of one. This one is the one I want. Yeah. Okay. I'll bring my darks. This is the whole thing. Cancel. All right. Where am I at? I always get lost with this sometimes. I mean, sometimes I get lost. Figure out where I'm at again. Now I want to. Okay. Let me get out of here. Let me go back in. I've been fighting with this situation lately, and I don't know why. Okay. Bring a little black back down. And I was going to do an S curve in here just because I really want to make sure those leaves aren't all blown out. And it's really, really easy to do. And something else I'll mention while I'm processing this photo is that when I was in the field and took this photograph, I used my circular polarizer. And what that did for me is it helped bring out, do away with reflection on the forest, on the leaves and whatnot. And it kind of helps bring out some color and a little saturation, a little bit of color. Okay. All right. Okay. I want to come up. I want to duplicate and invert this mask, and I'm going to create one for the center here. Maybe pull it down a little bit. I'm brightening up the center of the photograph because we're looking into it. And the vignette, like I said before, is going to pull people in. And I've pulled everything up towards the top, kind of. So that's that circular one. And then this is the linear gradient here. And I just really wanted that one to take care of the top of the photograph. So, all right, let's get back in here to the basics. Let's see how we're looking. Something I want to do is, and I do a lot of dodging and burning. I really do with these masks. So I'm going to do and I do it pretty easy. I do just a radial gradient in an area over here. Maybe pull it up. And then just barely bring in, there we go. I just raised the exposure up in that area just slightly because it's pretty dark. In a darker area, you're going to want to look at an area first if it's dark or bright. So, all right, let me turn this off and on so you can see what I've done. See how dark it is on the right? And I just brighten it up a little bit. Okay. Okay. All right. Now let's see here. I don't think there's anything else down here I really want to deal with. I might go into my color mixer and mess with my saturation now. So, and the reason I like to do it in here is I hate doing a global adjustment. Let's just say you're in the field of yellow flowers, and you got green everywhere except for these beautiful yellow flowers. And the green looks really good to you, but the flowers are a little subdued. You can come in here to your color mixer and you can choose the color that you want to affect in the photograph. So we have a little bit of yellow in there, in this moss, especially down here. Okay. And just pull a little bit of saturation into it. Okay. And we're getting close here. I want to go back in and maybe darken. I really want to try to darken that vignette for some reason, but I don't know if it's really doing me a whole lot of good. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that looks good. Maybe I'll feather a little bit more. Pull this in a little bit. That's what I need to do, is I need to lighten that foreground up. So let me take this one and I'll pull it up this way. There we go. There we go. All right, now the other one, this one here. This one here, I want to pull this one back up again because when I darkened the vignette, it darkened this area. So now I want to come up here, radial gradient. I want to come up in this corner over here. So that area is a big dark spot up in there. Just bring that up just a little bit. Hope you can see that, how that happened. And you can create as many of these little dodging and burning areas, and you really don't have to get too in depth with these masks in here. An oval does a good job for me. I mean, there's ways of, intersecting them and blending them and subtracting from them, which I'll do sometimes. Sometimes I'll subtract from a mask. So what I would do is I would come over here. Whoops. Come over here and click on, where did I go? My mouse is getting happy. So I would click on the mask and hit subtract if I wanted to take an area away from that. And then I could use any of these other filters or masks, through here. And then you can just use it to subtract. And what I do the most is a brush. I'll come in and brush an area out or something like that. So, all right. So let me get back up in here. Take a look at it. See, I keep going back and forth with that darn vignette. Oh, I think that's better. Okay, that's where we started. And this is where we've ended up so far. So I think when I photographed this, I photographed it this was 10 years ago. I photographed this. This was 2016. So back then I hadn't really jumped on the Adobe Neutral color profile. And I think this was set to Adobe Landscape, which is really, really, really gaudy. It's really terrible. So this is before and after. And what we've done is opened up the shadows. We've subdued this light in the back, but we still maintained a little bit of light. And we have protected all those leaves that have the light on the top of them. You can see the bark and the trees. See over here how dark. Same with over here. So, okay. All right. Let's get back to where we were. Now, I might want to just bring the whole global exposure down a little bit. See, I nitpick the heck out of things, you know, and like I've said before, I will, I'll take off and leave it for a while and then come back to it and let my eyes adjust to it. So, I don't know. One thing that I would like to say is that people expect for my processing to be so much more complicated than it is. And I've run into this in workshops when I do a processing demonstration. How I process is pretty basic, you know, but something that helps me is getting it right in the field, you know. So if you're out in the field and you get everything right, you get the exposure right, you get your composition right, and exposure, composition, and lost my head. Oh, and focus. I'm an idiot. So you get your focus right, and you get your composition right, and you get your exposure right, and you get your exposure by looking at your histogram up here while you're in the field. And it doesn't matter if you're shooting brighter in the field, you can always bring it back down again, but try your best not to underexpose in the field, because if your ISO is raised at all, the darker it gets, the worse the ISO gets, the noise gets, I should say. And you can demonstrate this with yourself. You can demonstrate this yourself by taking a photograph on a real sunny day and raising your ISO, and then taking the photograph and look up in the sky and see how much noise is up there, and then look down in the shadows to see how much noise is down there, and there'll always be more noise in the shadow. So while I'm out in the field, I may keep in mind that the photo is going to be processed darker, but I still, while I'm in the field, I'll balance it to the right-hand side and protect my highlights. It's important for you to protect your highlights, because if your highlights are blown out, you can't recover anything there. If for some reason it's darker in the corners, or if it's darker somewhere in the scene, you can always brighten it up, and there's always something there. It may be a little bit noisy, you know, in those areas, but it's better than blowing out your highlights. So keep an eye on your highlights when you're in the field by looking at your histogram. And there's times when you just have to let the shadows roll, you know. Otherwise, you can bracket your photos. So there are plenty of times when I'll bracket if it's a really high dynamic range day. So yeah, don't be afraid to bracket your photos, and then blend them together here in Photoshop, or excuse me, Lightroom. And all you got to do is just highlight the three ones that you want to blend. You go up here and go photo merge and hit HDR. It'll turn them all in. It'll all turn them all into a DNG or a TIFF, depends on how you've got your Lightroom set up. And then it includes information from all three files into one, and you can adjust just that one file. So, okay. So what do you guys think? You have any questions for me at all? If you do, let me have it. Because I think this photo looks pretty good. And we really haven't done a whole lot of processing to it, really. We've just done Lightroom adjustments. And a lot of it has to do with getting it right out in the field. So, okay. Also, while I have you guys here, still have 7 of you online here, come up with some ideas if you guys have some questions or something you guys would like to ask or have me demonstrate. You think maybe I might know how to do it? Let me know. Okay. So I'm easy to get a hold of. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and I got a website, gary-randall.com. It's got a contact page, and it'll send an email to me. Otherwise, show up here on Sunday nights, and we'll sit and we'll discuss it. You know, I've got the chat box over here, and so we can sit and we can discuss these things too. So, okay. So let me think here. What else could I do? See, I used to do my vignette down here. Or not transform. Where am I at? Effects. I used to do my vignette down here, but you can't move it around like you can. So, was that when we were out in the gorge, Scott? Yeah, pull those up, and I'd like to see some of those. I'm not sure that I've really seen a whole lot of the ones that we made together when we were out in the field. I think we were out in the gorge. So, but let me think. Yes, in the gorge. Pull them up and communicate with me, Scott, so I can see what you got going. All right. And if you wanted to, you guys can always submit a raw file to me, and we can sit and we can work on one of your photos. That's always an option. So get a hold of me and send me the raw file, and we'll do that. Okay. And I think that would be fun. You know. All right. So let me think. You guys want to see me do another one real quick, or? Forests. Hey, Joe. How you doing, buddy? My focal point was the bridge, really. Yeah. Hey, I try to be cool. I try to be one of the cool kids. So what we can do here is we can do some sharpening. Didn't think about that. Let's go over here into the sharpening and noise detail deal over here, and let's mess with that. Okay. Hi, Tom. Let me know how I can help you, buddy. And honest, I'd enjoy if you guys would submit some raw files to me. We can go through and do some processing with yours. If there's one that you're challenged with or something like that, maybe send it along. Also, we can also do stuff on the side. You know, we can discuss it too. So I'm not doing a critique of your work in front of a group of people. We can always do this on the side too. So yeah, if you're challenged by a photo or curious about anything, just let me know. Okay. The masks up here if you double click on here, this pops up and you can rename the masks. So this is corner grad. Well, let's just call it corner rad grad. Hit OK. And there you go. You got it named. So, that's something that's probably a good thing to do. I guess I'm too lazy. Even in Photoshop, I'll create a layer and it'll just be layer number 2 or something like that. So, yeah. Now, these are probably good practices, to do, is to go through and name them, It kind of probably helps a lot when you have a lot of masks. Yeah, and revisiting the image too. Yeah, but if you have a lot of masks, especially in Photoshop too, if you got a lot of masks, it really helps to label them. There's times when I do some graphic artwork in Photoshop for clients, and there are times when we get a whole lot of layers going down. And another thing that really helps in Photoshop, and I don't think we can do it here, in Photoshop is create a folder and pull things that are associated with each other into that folder. And then the list doesn't get quite so long either. So, but here in Lightroom, it can get long if you really are doing some adjustments. So let me close this up. Let me get up here and pull this down, and we can see how many you can see how many we've done just with this photo here. So, we've got what, a dozen? I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We did 8 masks, and these are all just dodging and burning masks. Okay. All right. I want to come back up into my tone curve and do a little touch up too. While you're doing this, your eyes just adjust to this stuff. So if you walk away or you just don't think about it for a minute or so, then you can come back and do some tweaks. And that's something else too, is that never go in, adjust your photo, and then do whatever it is you have to do with it. Give it time to sit and give yourself a little bit of time to sit and look at it. There's nothing worse than processing something for Instagram or Facebook and then looking at it a couple days later and going, oh shoot, I should have done something different or whatever, So sit on it. All right. Don't get anxious to do whatever you need to do with it, including printing. In the past, I've wasted, I don't know how many proofs from my printer when I could have just sat on the file a little bit longer and just let it sit and a printing company. Yeah, when I'm doing my my photographs, I'm still working with Bay Photo. They've always been a good partner in my printing jobs. I was with Reed Photo for a while, but they're out of business, so I really haven't done a whole lot of acrylic face prints since they went out of business. But they used to do my acrylics and stuff too, and so I think Bay Photos has acrylic stuff now too. So, but I will go through and I'll come into my print module over here, and I will set everything up over here, and I will print a few out on my own printers here. So I've got a what model is that? It's the Epson Stylus R2 880, and then I also have my little Canon printer over here. So a lot of times I'll just do 8x11s or 8.5x11s and then print them out and then be happy with it before I send the file off. So, okay. St. Francisco. Local, I don't have a local printer, Scott. Oh, wait a minute. It's not Scott. Where are you? Hold on a second here. The Gemini 69. Tell me your name so I could try to remember your name. I know I'm terrible at names, but anybody that's going to show up here and spend time with me, I want to get to know. So, okay. Gem. From now on, you're Gem. You're a gem. I've been told now and then that I'm a gem too. It's been a while. Yeah, Bay Photo works really good, and so Mari, you're the drone guy. Yeah, we need to, let's get to know each other. I need to get my 10 Bush Aerial Solutions LLC. Yeah, I recognize you now. yeah, it takes me a time or two to get all this stuff down. So, and you guys are the base. You guys are the OGs of my live videos here. You know, something else too is that Marianne. Oh, you worked with Betsy. Uh, yeah, Betsy. I miss Betsy. It was sad what happened. You know. Yeah, I miss Betsy. So yeah, you must be close to me. So if that's the case, then let's get together someday, Marianne. Let's fly our drones. What I was going to say is that I'm doing these live videos and they're real. You know, this is just me. And sorry if you didn't hear about Betsy, but Betsy passed. It was a surprise for everyone. So, and I'll be honest with you that nobody announced it or anything, and it was just something that really took me by surprise. So anyhow, awesome. Let's get together sometime. Let's do this, okay? What I wanted to say is that these are real. This is me. You know, I could sit down and I could do some videos and edit them and do 5 takes until I get it right, and then put it up there and make it sound like I'm brilliant, you know. But you guys are here and you guys are consuming what I'm doing in real time. So there's going to be times when I make mistakes. There's going to be times when I won't know how to do something you guys might want me to do, but I really want to just inspire you guys to do just to push your work a little bit more and maybe get some hints from me on how my workflow is. And so I've said this before, but my workflow starts in the field and it doesn't stop until I've printed the picture. So that's a complete workflow. And so, yeah, so I just want you to know that I may be a little nervous on these things, but this is real. This is real time, and I really appreciate you guys showing up. So, well, we've been doing this for 45 minutes now, and I don't think I'm going to start a new one. So what I want to do is hope that you guys show up again next Sunday and support me and encourage me, and hopefully we'll learn and we'll progress in our photography together. So I just want you to know I appreciate it. So I'm rambling. I think I'm going to let you guys go. If you guys have any more questions, put them down in the comments or contact me. You guys know how to get a hold of me. So just get a hold of me if you need to talk to me. And I'm always willing to. Sometimes I get a little overwhelmed, but if you get a hold of me and go, hey man, I messaged you a week ago and you haven't gotten a hold of me, I'll go, oh, I'm sorry. And then I'll pay attention. It's not that I'm ignoring you or anything. So, oh man, that makes me feel so good. I appreciate it, Randy. You know, Randy, you and I are buddies. You were with me on my second workshop when we went up to Salmon River Canyon. So thank you, Shauna. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. I'm going to let you guys go, and thank you again. So, all right. So let's show up again next Sunday. If you have any ideas or anything, let me know, and we'll do this. Okay. Yeah, Randy, it was a good day, wasn't it, man? And that was like you and I were. I mean, this is when we were just beginning, and we've learned and we've been so far. I don't know what year that was, but I'm going to have to look that up. So, all right, everybody. Ciao, Joe. Ciao. Adios. Thank you for everything. Here I go. Take care. Bye.